back to you then, and we're looking at AI in cars.
We are, although sort of to follow your segment, really, we're not particularly looking at AI and we're not really particularly looking at cars. We're looking at what this enables. But yes, yesterday the government announced through the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology that there's a £1 billion investment into what they're calling AI for self-driving cars, if you can imagine that. This is the AI, the sort of Wayve AI, tweeted here by Michelle Donnellan, who spent some time there with Rishi Sunak looking at the kit on offer. Now, Wayve themselves, of course, are very keen to put forward their safety credentials, and they talk about the system learning to predict and adapt in order that they embed safety into AI's core, which of course is written by humans, building an emergency response safety reflex. So there are a number of concerns that come out from this, which we won't have time to go into all of today, but the Scientific American went back a couple of years, 2022, asking the very reasonable question, who is liable when AI kills? And in order to run this through, they used an example from 2018 when a pedestrian was killed by a self-drive Uber vehicle. Now, driver error was at issue, but the AI failed to detect the pedestrian. Of course, there's so many other mistakes that could be made with catastrophic consequences. An AI-based mental health chatbot encouraged a simulated suicidal patient to take her own life. Female resume applicants are being discriminated against, and in one particularly dramatic case, an AI algorithm misidentified a suspect in an aggravated assault, and yet people are still banging the drum for AI. Now, the other thing I want to bring to your attention is a geofence, which you may not necessarily have heard of, but this is from Verizon, and it describes a geofence as being a virtual fence or a perimeter around a physical location. Like a real fence, a geofence creates a separation between that location and the area around it. Unlike a real fence, geofencing technology can also detect movement of mobile devices inside the virtual boundary. So when I said it wasn't really about cars, what I meant is that cars are now really being recategorized as mobile devices. And the government have been putting content out about this for a couple of years at least. First of all, the Geospatial Commission with DSIT, finding the way forward, location data to enable connected and automated mobility. And they talk specifically about regulating vehicle behavior. But of course, in a driverless car, it's not the vehicle behavior really, talking about the behavior of people, and in particular, enforcing transport-related regulations. And here we go. Geofencing will play an important role in optimizing the early deployment of self-driving vehicles, which is exactly what government is talking about yesterday and today. Indeed, there was a competition back in 2022 in which optimizing geofencing talk again about changing behavior and how geospatial data can be used to reduce emissions. So in effect, just engaging with a particular narrative and then nudging people's behavior in a particular direction, which of course puts us in mind of the behavioural insights team. It's exactly the sort of area in which they have been working and will work. Now, in America, they've been ahead of this. And we see from the 10th Amendment Center, the California Assembly passed a bill to restrict location tracking via geofencing. And this was in 2023. They're not the only state to have done it. But they point out that the technique allows police to search broad areas and identify every electronic device in the area. So an incredible surveillance tool. And the use of Google location data to engage in massive fishing expeditions and subject hundreds, if not thousands, of innocent people to police location tracking. Now, this really is the issue at hand. And if you think that you're not going to be subject to it, you might have to think again when you go outside and look at your car, because this is just an example from the Hyundai website. They talk about their Bluelink safeguard alerts, and they specifically have a geofence alert, which is a feature, of course, they suggest it's to your advantage. It allows you to set boundaries for allowed areas and restricted areas for your vehicle to drive. You will be notified if your vehicle exits an allowed area or enters a restricted area. Now, it's not beyond the bounds of possibility to imagine that it might not necessarily be you that's setting the allowed or the restricted areas. So as I say, this is not really about cars and it's not really about AI. It is an awful lot about control and surveillance, and we'll be watching the direction this goes in with a fair idea of what it's going to be.
And of course, it would remove the need for ULEZ cameras, I suspect. But anyway, we'll talk more about this in extra. Vanessa, let's come back to you.